comes to the nutrition of the children, it's not only taking care of their physical requirement, but it also takes a lot of care about their cognitive development. Therefore, the nutrition plays a big role in the overall growth of the children in the age group of 2 to 6 years. Let's understand how, as a preschool or as a daycare center, what are the major things we can do to take care of children with their nutritional requirement. Now, if you look to the National Curriculum Framework of 2022, which is the subsequent edition of National Education Policy of 2020, the experts of Government of India, they have done a very detailed analysis and detailed framework how the whole thing can be taken care of as far as the nutritional requirement is concerned. And they have suggested a concept called Panchakoshika development. And while we talk about Panchakoshika development, in that the food plays a very, very big role. And how this food can take care of this Panchakoshika concept, let's understand that. This NCF 2022, and the same thing is mentioned in National Curriculum Framework in 2023. One important concept, I request you to please remember, this is very, very important. One important concept of Panchakoshika development has been introduced here. What is Koshika? Koshika is a sheath or layer. So the whole Ayurveda of Indian innovative system says, if we can take care of this Panchakoshika development of the children in these 2 to 6 years, then the child will be a fantastic learner and fantastic innovator going further in the future days. So that's where the Panchakoshika things are taken into account. Now, if we want to understand this Panchakoshika, the child will be having a 5-layer of development. Let's understand this. If you understand this, then we will be very much aligning to Government of India's concept of developing this Panchakoshika development and making them very, very integral part of the preschool education system. Now, 5 layers. The first layer is called Annamaya Koshika. Very fast layer, Annamaya Koshika. Anna means food. So any Koshika that is developed by using any food that we eat, that refers to Annamaya Koshika. Annamaya Koshika is immediately manifested the physical growth we get. We as a human being, we have got a physical body, and this physical body is the result of the Annamaya Koshika. So that is becoming very, very important concept in Indian context, because if you look to one concept of malnutrition in India, you will find more than 50% children are either stunted or wasted. Stunted is the age for the height, and wasted is weight for height or weight for age. So these two criteria shows that if we are not very good in Annamaya Koshika development or physical development of the child, rest of the things will not be possible. Please keep it in mind as the preschool stakeholders. When we take care of child in our education system, they are coming to our school for developing their skill, and if we are forgetting their physical growth and physical development, it is of no use making them mathematical well-being, or English is very good, mathematics is very good. All these things will not be of any use if their physical growth is not as per the mark. Now, how do we know the physical growth, all these things? From Adiveret Foundation, that we have taken absolutely importance to translate this knowledge to all the preschool teachers, understanding what is the growth criteria for all the children in the age group of 2 to 6 years that we have taken either in our daycare curriculum, or to some extent we have taken that in our overall preschool curriculum system. So Arnamaya Koshika is physical development. As a teacher, we must give importance because maximum development happens for a child in this age group of 2 to 6 years. And I'll not take this, discussion a little bit beyond, but as a scientific student, as a research scholar myself, I also do quite a lot of research on this area. There is a Parker hypothesis. I'll just, give, since all of you may be teachers, and being a teacher, it is very, very important to have some additional information where we try to implement something by ourselves in a system. Now this Parker, a Western scientific or a doctor, he created one hypothesis that is called Parker's hypothesis. And what he found, any children who is born malnourished or in the early child development, that means 2 to 6 years, if the malnourishment is not addressed quite well, or we are not correcting that malnourishment which is in the childhood malnourishment, then 90% chance is there the child will develop some kind of lifestyle disease once the child will be reaching 35-40 years of age. That means those people who are getting either diabetes, hypertension, thyroid, which we call as the lifestyle diseases, most of them are malnourished in their childhood years. In another word, if we take up their malnourishment, or if we ensure the children are well nourished or the right amount of nutrition is provided to them, then 90% children will be avoided getting early lifestyle diseases in their life. That is also another aspect we must look at. That means as a teacher, we help lots of children to not get lifestyle diseases early in their life. So that is all about Arnamaya Koshika. Then after Arnamaya Koshika, we come to the second Koshika, which is called Pranamaya Koshika. This Pranamaya Koshika, in Hindi or in English, we call that as the energy stream in the body. If physical body development is there, but energy is not flowing perfectly in the body system, then child will not be having enthusiasm. The child may not be having that interest to do anything. So Arnamaya Koshika, along with the energy stream or energy sources of the body, will define how the child will be approaching to education, how the child will be approaching to the overall surrounding of life. So Pranamaya Koshika is developed through again well nourished or proteins or vitamins. All these things will added to the Arnamaya Koshika to make the energy become very vibrant in the body. If the energy is vibrant, then the child will be very happy, very joyful. If the energy level of the Pranamaya Koshika is little low, the child's energy level is low, then child will not be joyful, child will not be showing any kind of enthusiasm to whatever we do. So these two things are very, very important as the first two layers of child's growth. And third layer comes Manamaya Koshika. Mana means mind, Mana means emotion, Koshika means next layer of development in the child. So if these two levels of development is happening quite well, then automatically the emotional growth of the child happens at a faster pace. If these two things are not happening, definitely third layer is not bound to happen. That's why if you look to outside country, they give maximum importance of these three layers of growth of each and every child. In Jewish community, let me tell you, during pregnancy, it's very, very mandatory that all the dry fruits and all these things will be fed to the pregnant women to ensure that the Annamaya and Pranamaya Koshika is developed from the day the child is getting conceived. So, having said that, this preschool education system itself, that's why ECCE, when we talk about care and education, we talk about this Manamaya Koshika is coming to the optimal level by our own efforts in the preschool system. So that is, in this Manamaya Koshika, we develop the emotional and social skills of the child. Then moving to the next level, it is coming at the Vigyanmaya Koshika. Vigyan, as it says, science Koshika, or it is the cognitive development. Once the social and emotional skill is developed to certain level, then the Vigyanmaya Koshika is getting activated. Then the optimal level of child's understanding to capture the cognitive growth or getting the concept clarified, which is there in mathematics, which is there in science, will be much easier if these first three levels of development happens. So Vigyanmaya Koshika is the fourth layer of development of the child, which deals with the cognitive development. So cognitive development is also coming from, towards the science and mathematics development of the child. And finally, the fifth layer or fifth Koshika is dealing with Anandamaya Koshika. Anandamaya Koshika is all about the happiness, joyfulness of the child. When the child's this fourth level of growth is completed, so basic requirement of the life is done, then child gets into a different level of understanding that is called Anandamaya Koshika. Child remains happy all the time, irrespective of the study, irrespective of the surrounding we create for the child. So this basic concept that was created in NCF 20, understanding about the Panchakoshika development and the role of nutrition in the life of children, we have understood first two basic Koshikas. One is Arnamaya Koshika and second one is the Pranamaya Koshika. And we know that these two Koshikas are the foundation stone of each and every child's overall development. And these two Koshikas are highly dependent on the food and other nutritional requirements of the body when the child is in the age group up to 6 years. Now, when these two things are concerned, right amount of food and right quality of food defines the overall physical development. And Pranamaya Koshika, as we know that prana means energy, and overall energy of the body of the children in the age group of 2 to 6 years defines the overall development of the children. So we can go without any doubt that if a child is well taken care of with nutritious food and all the requirements, then these two Koshikas, Arnamaya Koshika and Pranamaya Koshika, are well developed. And if these Koshikas are well developed, then rest three things will be consequently developed without any difficulty. Now, with this understanding, let's go to understand when we talk about energy or Pranamaya Koshika, it's the body energy which we get from multiple sources, and food is one of the source from where we get these energies. Now, in this section, we need to understand what is a concept that is called calorie. So, calorie is the unit of energy that we get from food. In the context of food, it measures the amount of energy that the body can obtain what we eat and what we drink. So as we know that Arnamaya Koshika gets a way to the Pranamaya Koshika. Pranamaya Koshika is the energy stream of the body, and this energy stream is measured by a unit what we call as calorie. So this concept is very, very important for the preschool teachers, daycare center professionals to understand that what is that food and what is that calorie or what is that energy we obtain from various foods that we provide to our children so that their overall development can take place. So from that perspective, let's understand, let's remember, calorie is the unit of energy that body gets from various sources. Now, how much calorie does a child need? Now, as far as this is concerned, as per National Center for Biotechnology Information, the generalized calorie needs among kids in the age group of, let's say, up to 6 years is somewhere around 1000 kilocalorie per day. Now, this is a very, very generalized research and generalized recommendation that has been given for the children in the age group of 2 to 6 years. And beyond that, there are different requirements. However, if we can just understand little bit of scientific way of understanding the calorie requirement or energy requirement of a child to carry out various activities that is needed for a child to perform, then we may understand a simple logic, simple mathematics, which can help the preschool professional as well as daycare caretakers to manage the kids in a more professional way. Now let's understand, if a child up to 1 year, then calorie intake is 100 kilocalorie per kg per day. In other words, if a child is, let's say, 10 kilogram of weight, that means weight of the child is 10 kg, then per kg kilocalorie requirement is 100. Then for 10 kgs, it's 100 into 10, that becomes 1000 kilocalorie. Then if a child is 11 kg, then accordingly 11 into 100, that becomes 1100 or 1100 kilocalorie per day. Similarly, if a child is in the age group of 1 year to 3 years, then the calorie requirement the child would be 80 kilocalorie per kg per day for all the children in the age group between 1 year to 3 years. Now, if a child is, let's say 15 kgs of weight of 2.5 years or 3 years child, then per kg is 80 kilocalorie. Then for 15 kgs, it will be 15 into 80. That becomes 1200 kilocalorie requirement of the child in that age group. Then if the child is between 4 years to 5 years, then the calorie requirement becomes 70 per kg per day of the child. And if the child is in the age group of 6 years to 8 years, then the kilocalorie requirement would be 60 to 65 kilocalorie per kg per day. So this is the normal chart. We can use it in our daycare center as well as preschools, so that we can manage a child as per the various requirement of the calorie requirement or energy requirement of the child. Now, how we can practice this in our school? There are 4 steps. The 4 steps you can see it's reflected in the screen. First is that we must measure the weight of the child. We know that it's as a requirement, it must be maintained as a record from time to time. Then as per the age of the child, we have to identify how much kilocalorie is required per kg in that age group. We can identify from there. Then we will multiply that requirement into the age. That becomes the total calorie requirement. So it's a simple mathematics. We can use that mathematics for each and every children. For that matter, we may just take a note in their diary, in their notebook, so that we know that how much kilocalorie the child needs. Now, once this is understood, then what are the sources from where the children should get those calories. Now, this is very, very important. We know that when food is taken, then automatically the food translates into energy in our body system, and body does various activities by getting those energy. Now, based on that, there is a concept of micronutrients. That means whatever food we eat, it has different function or different intensity of energy they create inside the body. Now, for that matter, let's understand one kind of micronutrients gets from the food category, which is called carbohydrates. So, as long as carbohydrates are concerned, carbohydrates, just remember, is a category of micronutrients which is obtained from a set of food grains or set of food types. So, as far as the carbohydrates are concerned, a child must be having up to 50% of the energy or calorie which are obtained from the total food intake. Then similarly, second kind of food category or energy category is called protein. So protein is certain kind of micronutrients or nutrients we get from the food which helps us to obtain energy from those food. So the total amount of calorie or total amount of energy obtained from protein should be more than 20% from all the food item we consume. And similarly, vitamins, dietary fibers and fat, that should be providing up to 30% of the energy requirement in the body. So 50, 20, 30, this should be the distribution of food grains that we eat, which should provide us carbohydrates, proteins and vitamins simultaneously, which will be translating those food items into energy into our body, so that body will be functioning at a very, very optimal level. It will not create any lethargy in the body, and child will be very, very vibrant if the consumption pattern will follow by this percentage. So we as preschool teachers, we as daycare center professionals, we must keep these simple things in mind while we provide various kind of food items to the children in that particular age group. Although this dietary science is very, very deep in nature, and if the school has got some dietary professionals, then it will be further good to understand the requirement in more detail. But as the entry-level school professionals, we must keep such things in mind while we are responsible for providing food items to the children. Now, question comes from where we get the energy under the category of carbohydrates. Now, as far as the carbohydrates are concerned, we know that it should be around 50% as the composition in our food item for the children. Now, these are the food items from where we get the micronutrient called carbohydrate. If you can look the food items, it is wheat roti or fulka. Basically, these are the food items are mostly used in Indian context among different states. Different states will be having little bit of variation, but these are the category of foods which we get in Indian states that provide us micronutrients as carbohydrate. It could be puri, it could be rice, steamed rice, idli, upma, noodles, white bread, jalebi, gulab jamun. These are the basic food items which falls under the category of carbohydrate as micronutrients. And if you look to the third column in this slide, then you will be getting that each item provides different kind of kilocalories when such kind of items are part of our food in the child's daily routine. And you can see that once we identify if a child requires, let's say, 1000 kilocalories of food, and in that 50% should be coming from carbohydrate, meaning 500 kilocalorie must be consumed from this category. Now we can select if 500 kilocalories has to be consumed, how much of food item we can have to provide to the child can be easily calculated from here. For example, if we are giving noodles of 1 cup, that is giving us 200 kilocalories of energy. Now, if you look white bread, 1 slice, that brings 70 kilocalories of energy to the child. Similarly, different amount of food items, different portion of food items and corresponding kilocalories of energy obtained is given here for your understanding. So, how much of each item has to be taken as a part of the diet for the child, then it has to be calculated accordingly. But remember, it should not be more than 50% what the child is consuming totally. Now, if a child is consuming 80-90% of carbohydrate, then what happens? The micronutrients coming from carbohydrates is dominating, and the body requirement for the other micronutrients will be falling short. Now, when the requirement of other micronutrients falls short, then child will not be having that energy stream in the body, which will make the child a vibrant child. Child will be showing interest in everything. So that may be little bit problem when a child consumes too much of carbohydrates or too much of other micronutrients. So this is the thumb rule. We must keep it in mind. Whatever child is consuming, child must consume 50% of carbohydrates as a part of daily requirement of the energy. Now moving further, second category of food is the protein. Now once we talk about protein, then what are the food items comes under the category of protein? Now protein requirement must be 20% and sometimes more. Then proteins are generally the micronutrients which are available in food items like boiled egg, chicken, fish, milk or curd or these milk items, dal, sambar. These are the items where the proteins are available. Now, in the food items of the child, which the child is consuming on a daily basis, 20% of the food items should be from this list. Ensure that child is having 20% in the diet, which should be boiled egg, chicken, fish, milk or curd. So this is very, very important part of micronutrient that body requires to maintain or manage the body in a very, very higher frequency. Imagine if the protein content in the food item is less, the kind of energy that we get from these micronutrients will be falling short, and therefore the right energy may be deficient in the body. And this not only downs the child in terms of emanating vibrant energy, but it will not be able to protect the body from various infections that the child generally gets. So this is the 20% share of the total food the child consumes. So we as preschool stakeholders or daycare center caretakers, we must keep those things in mind so that we can also help parents understand this kind of food requirement of the child. Then moving further, last category, we have got vitamins, fibers and fats. These are very, very important category of micronutrients that body requires when the child is below 6-7 years of age. And this category of food items requirement is somewhere around 30% of the total requirement of energy or total requirement of calories in the body on a daily basis. Now, if we look to the total food items, what are the food items available under this category? Under fats, you can have your paneer, cheese, ice cream, butter, chocolate, chocolates, and we have the portion available here and what is the approximate kilocalories obtained by consumption of that particular portion of food item. Then dietary fiber are basically fruits and vegetables. So it could be apple, strawberry, banana, carrot, potato, and different portion and approximate kilocalorie availability is also given, which is around different kilocalories, so that while the daycare professional plan for it, they can make sure that this amount of kilocalories obtained. Then when we come to vitamins, vitamins are micronutrient. As vitamin, they have A, B, C, D, E, K, then calcium and other. Mostly such vitamins are available from fruits and vegetables, which could be broccoli, spinach, orange, papaya, tomato, almond, cabbage. So these are the various food items from where we get vitamins. Now, if we look how much of the kilocalories we can get, you can see that the more vitamins you get less kilocalories. That means if the child is eating too much of fruits or vegetables, that's always good. It not only satiates our habit of eating, but it also provides less amount of energy by consumption of a small portion of that particular food item. So from that perspective, when we just do not have control for the child to eat a sufficient amount of food which takes care of the energy requirement, at the same time it may not happen that each child's consumption of food which exceeds the requirement of energy in the body, that may translates into fat in the body, and that may create a problem of obesity in the child. So we have to be very, very careful as far as the food items are concerned and respective energy stream, and make sure that child is eating the right amount. So from that perspective, eating of fruits and vegetables where too much of fruits and vegetable leads to less amount of energy, so there is no limitation of eating sufficient amount of food items as far as the vitamins and dietary fiber is concerned. But if the child is eating too much of carbohydrates, then what happens? The vitamin and proteins or dietary fiber requirement in the body is not getting fulfilled. So from that perspective, the child's overall development in terms of the vibration, in terms of the enthusiasm, in terms of interest into something may fall short. So as parents, as teachers, as daycare professionals, we must keep those things in mind. At least we would try to manage those requirements as far as the child's dietary requirement is concerned. Now, as a part of the stakeholder in early child development, we have got a daycare ERP module which provides such support system to track the child's dietary requirements, how much the child is eating, what amount of eating. So this ERP will help the daycare centers or the preschools, or even at home, if parents want, they can just, when the child is consuming, they can just enter those things into the system, which is available in form of mobile app. So it will provide you monthly, quarterly, weekly consumption reports, so that you can just track how much the child and what is the eating pattern of the child, whether the child maintains 50, 20, 30 portion or proportion of carbohydrates, proteins and vitamins in the overall diet requirement of the child. It's very, very important when the child is exposed to too much of eating options, and which are mostly junk and which can be categorized under carbohydrates and fats, which may provide energy, which may provide kilocalorie requirement, but it will make sure that other micronutrients are not falling short. So, so we have to maintain a balance with all the requirements of the body so that the Arnamaya Koshika is providing right amount of Pranamaya Koshika in the body system so that the child can get the overall development and maintain a very nice health in the future. So you can reach out to us if you need more support on this. And the details of the daycare ERP is provided in the description. And you can just go to the description. And if you want to know more about that, please do the requirements as it is provided in the requirement in the description, or you can contact us through the email ID and phone number which is available on the screen. Thank you so much.